QueerTWENTY is the annual celebration of 20 queer Indians who have made a mark in business, technology, and society. Today, we are joined by Samyukhta Vijayan, who has worked with Amazon US, Swiggy in India, and now is moving forward to work as the head of programs for cloud platforms for Coupang and MNC in South Korea. Thank you so much for joining us. So, if you could just start us off by telling us what your journey of self-acceptance was like.
It's actually very interesting because so I grew up as one of three boys in a very small town in Coimbatore, Tamil Nadu, right? So my parents never went to school, and my father was a tailor, and my mom is a homemaker, right? So I come from this really lower middle class background in a conservative setup. However, very interestingly, my mother was always, very open about what the kids can or cannot do. In fact, it was my mother who put me in a Bharatanatyam school because she thought I was just jumping around and I could dance, right? And when I went to that dance school, I was like one of the very few, boys in a class of like 60 or 70 girls, and I immediately felt at home, to be honest. In fact, my father was so proud that I could dance really well. So, and my dance master would put me in a girl's costume when we actually go and do those performances. And my dad would, show pictures of me in a girl's Bharatanatyam costume and show it to his friends and be so happy and proud about how good I looked and how well I did in the dance class and all that. So this allowed me to focus properly on studies, right? Because I didn't have to worry about, my plays and what I was thinking and all that, because everything was going fine. However, the responsibility of the parents and maybe the teachers, maybe the close friend circle, or even sometimes relatives, to provide these children with a support system, to become confident about who they are. Because we know that 98% of transgender people do not live with their parents or estranged and all that, right? And if you see, most of them do not contribute to the society as an equally valuable part of the society, simply because of the fact that they do not have the support system. So they just run off to places where they think they could see a support system is available, which is another transgender group of people, and they do not have the kind of access to housing or to education or to job opportunities, or to kind of any way to get the financial security and the social status that I received, right? I was focused on what I wanted to achieve, and I really understood financial safety and social status will automatically get me where I wanted to go, because I knew I was a girl all along. So that was always in the back of my mind, but I did not act on it like most other kids or teens would act on it, because of my focus, and I wanted to make sure I get there before I actually go through with this transition. I was with Amazon for a really long time, for about 10 years. And after a few years in India, I moved to Europe and then the US. And in the US is when I went through my transition. It was fantastic because so Amazon had this transgender at Amazon.com, like it's a group of people who had transitioned from either male to female or female to male on the job, right, as they were working. So Amazon had this fantastic process of how do you go through transition at workplace. And Amazon had a fantastic insurance set up for people who wanted to go through transition. So my insurance took care of my hormone therapy, my like laser treatment to get my facial hair off, and even some part of my actual gender reassignment surgery. Right. And to be honest, transition in Seattle. So I was in Seattle when I went through this transition. It was like a cakewalk. So Friday, I go in as Santosh, my previous self, and Monday, I go in as Samyuktha. And it was as if I was Samyuktha all along. People were very supportive. They used female pronouns. I was allowed to use the female restroom and all that. And it was, and I was really happy with how things went on. But at the same time, I was a little sad that, such things happen only when you get out of India, only when you are in such a comfortable place. And I really wanted to see if there is anything I could give back to the community back in India.
Coming to corporate India, you were in the US for a long time, and you said that you received a lot of benefits and support and insurance. In the past decade, have you seen corporate India go in the same direction?
So after the writing down of Section 377, right, things have changed a little bit. However, for the transgender community, I cannot understand why writing down of Section 377 was important for corporate India to take notice of the transgender community, because transgender community was there, for decades. And if people wanted to, they could have reached out to the community, tried to get them into mainstream jobs, provided them, skills and opportunities, but they did not do. And now people are talking about diversity and inclusion, especially after Section 377. They bring transgender people under the LGBT umbrella. And to be really honest, I'm not convinced that the way you deal with the LGBT community under a single umbrella works for transgender people, especially because the issues that they face is not same as the issues that the lesbian, gay, or the bisexual community faces. Yes, there were some issues, especially when gay kids, or bullied at their, when they are children and the workplace and all that. Those issues are there, but it's not as magnified and visible as the transgender community. So if a corporate or an organization says that they do not discriminate on the basis of gender or, sexual identity, orientation, or whatever, right? What they mean is you need to come with all the expected skills and training and all of that. Once you cross that bar, then we will say, okay, we are not going to be worried about your sexual orientation or gender identity. Now, the problem lies there, right? The transgender community, for the most part, more than 90% of the people have been like school dropouts or college dropouts. And to expect them to have that level of skills or training or educational qualification, so most of these people just get out of during the screening procedure itself.
You left USA, you left Amazon USA to work on your own startup idea, that is Toot Studio. Just walk us through your motivations behind the studio and what were your aims behind?
We actually made bridal clothes especially for the purpose of renting them out, right? So we won't sell anything, but they would be, it was, so we introduced probably one of the very first people to actually do made to rent clothing, right? And within that, I also was trying to figure out how can I help the community, right? So we actually hired 4 transgender women. Based on their interest, we trained them in design, in embroidery, in makeup, in customer service and things like that. We gave them this training. So initially, I was completely out of touch with the community in India because, as I said, because of my financial status and social setup, I was very, away from them. But now with this, attempt, I was able to get closer to a few more people, trying to understand what is the reality on the ground, like what issues they face and how we can help them. So I think that is the biggest learning and my work as part of Toot Studio.